on tonight's applications and also to tend to any unfinished business that the board may have. Members of the public are certainly welcome at both sessions, the public hearings and the deliberations. Although during deliberations, conversations are generally reserved for discussions amongst board members with staff, and with our council if we need to do that. So everyone is certainly, again, welcome to stay. You don't have to. If you need to go somewhere or you want to go somewhere else, you can call tomorrow morning, call Harold, someone else in the zoning staff and planning department, and find out what action, if any, the board took on a particular item. I always point out every month that the town has a very good practice and policy of notifying neighbors that live near an application that the application is going to be heard. And the town does that so people are more fully informed of their right to come in and discuss the application. The town does it by making applicants put up signs. We've all seen the signs in the yards. Posting it on the internet, posting it the old-fashioned way on bulletin boards here, and also mailing out postcards to neighbors nearby applications. And we think that things work pretty well when people come in and speak their minds. That's the way it's supposed to work. That being said, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are down one board member tonight. Roseanne had to stay home and care for a injured child, so we wish him obviously a speedy recovery. Harold, may we have the first application, please?
Application number 1, Greg Hodgson, 47 Kings Mill Court, Penfield, New York, 14526, requests an area variance from Article 3-3-35-D-1 and Article 3-3-37-A of the Code to allow the construction of a storage shed with less setback at 47 Kings Mill Court. The property is owned by Christine and Greg Hodgson and is zoned R-1-20. This is SBL number 094.18-1-46. This is application number 13Z-0033.
Hello, my name is Greg Hodgson. I'm the owner at 47 Kings Mill Court. The neighborhood is New Ryan Home Development, which is located on near the corner of Plank Road and 5 Mile Line Road behind the large New Covenant Church. We're looking to construct a storage shed. It's going to be 10 by 14 in size. I think I had noted in my letter it was 10 by 12, but after purchasing it, it is 10 by 14. It will look exactly like this. The only difference is it will have double doors on the front rather than on the side, and that's why I had to do the 10 by 14. We're requesting a variance to go 5-foot setback rather than the 10-foot setback. We back up to a very large field behind the church, and we're several hundred feet away from the church. We're almost all the way down on Kings Mill Court, and we're requesting it for aesthetic purposes, as well as just to the land levels out a lot back there, and it would be a lot easier to construct back there as well. We are looking to put just garage type things into the shed, lawnmower, lawn tools, that type of thing. No electricity will be run to the shed. There won't be any spotlights hung on the shed. I've spoken to my neighbors as well, and my neighbor immediately adjacent to me on the northwest corner that I want to put the shed on has signed a letter of support as well. I guess that's about it.
How large is your property?
Quarter acre.
And the location in your yard for the shed will be where?
Northwest corner, so back left if you're looking from the house.
And you say it backs up to a church lot.
Yes.
How many feet away would you say the church actually is?
The actual structure of the church, I would guess, is probably about 500 feet away.
And does the church use any of that property closer to your lot for anything?
No, it's all, it was actually overgrown grasses until I talked with the pastor and he agreed to mow it back there to at least kind of keep it up. So it's pretty far away.
And where does their congregation park?
Immediately around the vicinity of the church. That's kind of like a U that goes around the church itself, so it's a ways
But it
away.
doesn't face your shed at all?
No. I mean, I can see the parking lot from my property, but it's several feet away facing the church.
Okay, so that'll take care of the back line. Now, what about the sideline? What's on the side that your shed will be on?
My side is another neighbor. That's the one that signed the letter of support from.
I didn't get
from
the
me.
letter. Do you
I
have
have it
a
here. Yeah, I
copy
brought
for
it
me?
with
Okay, I'll read into the record. I won't read the whole letter, just
Sure.
it's in support of your shed.
Yep, yep.
Okay, and it's signed by Jeremy and Liz Clopin?
Kelpin, yep,
Okay.
yep. They're the owners.
Okay, now, is this home, where is their home in relation to the shed? Is it way back? And does their house kind of in line with your house?
Yeah, it's on a straight street, so all the houses kind of line up exactly the same. So the shed would be in the back left corner, which would be their back right corner.
Okay, so it would be quite a ways away from their house.
Yeah, as far possible as away from their house, being a quarter-acre lot.
And do you know what a room in their home would be facing the shed?
It would be their family room. Yep.
Now, you say you're going to use it for storage things. Where are those storage things now?
Garage, basement, mostly in the garage. Like most of us, I can't get either car in the garage right now, so, especially with winter coming, and I have a toddler at home, so lots of toys.
That's why it can't remain there, okay? Now, you say the property is grounded downhill from the front to the back?
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of foundation are you using?
So I'm looking to build probably about 15 inches up, and I'm going to use timbers, 6x6 timbers, and set those into the ground. And I should only need about 3 courses of them to get it high enough to level the back with the front. And it's only going to be the back, kind of a U-shaped foundation to put some crushed rock in there and kind of build the back up a little bit.
And are you doing this yourself, everything yourself?
Yes.
Okay. And you said somewhere in your thing that the color would match your house, but what color is that?
Tan, sandy tan, so
Okay.
it's vinyl sided.
Then like vinyl? Okay.
Yeah, vinyl sided, and the trim will be white, which is exactly the same as the house, and the doors will be black on the shed, which is exactly the same
And I
as the
believe you
house.
said there'd be no electricity either in or out?
Nope.
Okay. Are there any other structures within 6 feet of that shed?
No.
So you're asking for a 50% variance, which is really quite substantial. Is there any way you could either move that shed forward a bit or to the side a bit to
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 bring
meet
it
our
in.
code more?
I certainly could. I mean, the reason I'm requesting is to, one, where it levels out, and two, just so it doesn't impede too much on the property itself. I actually put stakes in the ground before applying for the variance, which was the 10-foot setback. It doesn't look so bad from actually the house side when you're looking at it, but actually it looks odd from the street side, the church side. When you go back there and you look up at it, it looks as though the shed's sitting in the middle of your property because it is a 10-by-14 structure. So it looks a little, honestly, aesthetically odd from the church side. So I'm trying to just utilize as much of my property as possible. We also have plans, not definite, but plans to hopefully get an in-ground pool someday, which that would cut into with the shed kind of coming up further as well.
And those doors, they're going to face your house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you planning any kind of buffering at all around it?
Yeah, I'd like to build like some landscaping and some evergreens around it just to make it even more aesthetically pleasing.
If you were standing next to where your proposed shed would be, and you look around from left to right, do you see any more sheds like that in that location?
My neighbor about 4 houses down, this is actually a picture of their shed. They have the exact same one, and it's in the exact same location as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
If you were to build this such that it were in compliance, how many of those timbers do you think you would need to level it off?
I plan on doing 3 courses in this area. I would probably need 4 to 5 to level off if I came up in compliance.
If you were to build it all the way into the corner of your lot, so you're right on the setbacks, how many would you need?
Probably down to 2.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an idea of the grade, and you just gave
Yep.
it to me. Okay. Any other questions from the
Nope.
board? No? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Application number 2, Patricia Flowerday, Patty Flowerday School of Dance and Fitness, 315 Seville Drive, Rochester, New York, 14617. Requests a change of use permit under Article 3-3-66-4 of the code to allow a dance fitness studio at 2233 Penfield Road. The property is owned by Hometown Antiques and Properties LLC and is zoned NBR, or BNR. This is SBL number 140.01-2-11. This is application number 13Z-0034.
Good evening. My name's Patty Flowerday, and I have been dancing my whole life since I was 6 years old. I started teaching right out of high school and went to college at Brockport State, and I'm certified through Dance Masters of America. I've sat on the board of Dance Masters for Western New York and Canada, and I've adjudicated dance competitions throughout the United States and Canada. I have a lot of students that are dancing professionally in the dance world, whether they are performing or teaching or owning their own schools. 2 years ago, I decided to sell my school in Webster because I didn't know if I still wanted to do it anymore, and I was just teaching part-time, and more students kept coming. I've been renting space in Fairport at Spotlight School of the Arts, and my business doubled after 1 year without any type of advertising, and I just cannot squelch the passion to teach children. So I've been looking for space, and I found what I think is the perfect space for my school.
Okay, did you rent, are you renting this property or did you purchase it?
I'm renting.
Okay, so obviously you signed a lease and you'll be there for a while.
Oh, yes.
Okay, how many students do you have at one time? I'll put it that way.
I've had up to 230 at my other school, but I don't want to be that big. I'd rather have like a quality school because I have a pretty good reputation in this area as a dance educator. So I would rather keep it small enough so that I know each student individually.
Okay, the reason I ask that is the parking. I know you have adequate parking for a certain amount of people, but I don't think you have it for 230.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be that big again.
Okay.
I just want to do it.
I guess
because
at
I
one
love-
time, would you say your class would be 10 or 15?
8 to 10.
Oh, 8 to
8
10.
to
Okay,
10.
so you have plenty of parking for 8 to 10 students.
Absolutely.
Okay, and what kind of sign are you going to put up?
There's already a pre-existing sign, so I just have to put my sign inside that sign.
Okay, so you're not going to make it larger, you're going to stay within the code of the signage for your building, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And I don't think there's a lot of other hours of operation. When will you be open?
Well, it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday
Okay.
through Friday, but not all day long, obviously. There's some yoga classes perhaps scheduled during the day or some one-on-ones with some senior citizens. And then when the children get out of school around 3:30, they start coming to the studio. And then my adult classes are later in the evening after people get out of work. On Saturdays, I'm there from 9 to 2, or would be there from 9 to 2, and occasionally on a Sunday for a workshop.
Okay, so what you're saying is you'd like the permit for 7 days a week, certain hours in each time, right?
That would be great.
Okay, and I'll ask you one more thing about the sign. Are you going to add any lighting to it, or if it's lit, how long is it going to stay lit? Is it lit? I'll put it that way first.
It's internally lit currently, yes.
Okay.
It's an internally lit sign.
And are you going to keep it open or lit 24 hours, or when you're there, or haven't you thought about it?
I haven't really thought about it.
Okay, it could be a good way of saying when you're there and when you're not there, is by keeping the sign lit. So,
Sure.
you know, it's not really a problem that I see, because it's in a location, it's all commercial, so there's a lot of lighting anyway. But I just thought I'd ask if you thought about it, okay? That's all I have, Danny.
Mike, Carol? When you have classes for children, how long do they run typically?
Well, the teenagers are there a long time because I want to keep them out of trouble, you know,
Yeah.
and I try to engage them. A lot of the teens come and help me teach my younger kids, so I always have a teacher and a demonstrator in the room, so there's, you know, a smaller ratio of adult per student per se. The little ones dance 45 minutes or an hour.
Do you leave any time between the classes for transition, so to speak?
Yes, so that for drop-off, pickup.
Right, that's what
Yeah,
I'm getting at. I
yeah.
just want to, because that's a busy road, just want to make sure that you take care for safety when parents are dropping kids off, picking them up. I imagine a lot of the
Absolutely.
parents probably stay and
Actually,
no?
they pretty much trust me, and that's a great location because there's so many things around there. Like if
Yeah.
they have kids, they usually just drop them off and go shop, or
Years ago, my wife used to make me stay, just.
and the dance moms these days, they go out and socialize together. So
Okay, great. Any other questions? Anybody from the audience care to speak on this application? All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Application number 3, Kim Kennedy, Laurelland 2010 LLC, 205 St. Paul Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14604. Requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-E and Article 7-7-13-A of the code to allow a freestanding sign with less setback and off-premise of the business location at 2010 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Laurelland 2010 LLC and is Zone LB. This is SBL number 093.02-1-10. This is application 13Z-0035.
Good evening. My name is Fred Rinaldi. I'm the managing member of Laurelland 2010. We're located at 205 St. Paul Street in the city. I'm also a proud resident of the town of Penfield. What I just handed out to you, there's only 3 copies there, but it is a photo of the original DeSalvo sign prior to the construction of the dialysis center, which has since opened as of last month. That image is important because I just wanted to draw a connection to the proposal that's in front of you today, which essentially is the same artwork, almost verbatim, as had originally been originally existed there on the site. When I was presenting to the town for the approvals for the dialysis center, one of the conditions was they had asked me to provide or create a provision to maintain signage for DeSalvo, which has existed there for quite some time. So I brought a site plan because I want to draw attention to 2 characteristics of the new proposal.
There's a handheld one on the bottom if you want.
Does that work? So two of the issues to be discussed this evening. One is the location of the new sign. If you look at the photo that I had provided, the actual photograph that I just handed out, the sign sat almost in the middle of the site, the Empire Boulevard elevation of the site, and was in the right of way of. It was actually in the right of way. We were proposing to pull that out of the right of way and actually move it to the northern edge of the site, which actually accomplishes a couple of things. One, pulls it out of the right of way, and 2, if you notice, there is a location indication on the sign itself, which is an arrow, and so this is a improved location for the sign because it pushes it closer to the street, even though we have maintained access on the north portion of the dialysis building, also per the requests of the town's administrative staff. Are there any questions with regards to the location?
Said, Fred, maintaining access, can you tell me what you mean by that? That little strip of, what's the access to this business? Let me ask it that way.
Well, the primary access is the, what's the street? I'm sorry, Seaborough which is
Right.
Very.
So you you turn right off of Empire, or left, I guess, depending which way you're going, but you turn
Correct.
off of Empire onto Seaberry.
Correct.
And then you turn right into the business.
Absolutely.
But this arrow is gonna be not pointing down Seaberry, but pointing down that little alley, I guess is.
Essentially.
And you want cars going that way?
We were asked to keep it, we were asked to keep that as, not as a primary access way,
Yeah.
but to keep it so vehicles could access through that. I'm
Can
not,
they fit? I mean, I'm not, it's,
well, they can, we had to build that, a fire truck can fit through there. I mean, there's 360-degree access around the building. That's just as it pertains to the town's code. So we did have to maintain vehicular access 360 degrees around that building. I'm not suggesting that I want that to be the main entrance, but we have provided accommodations for vehicles. And I'm not sure that the DeSalvos want that to be the main entrance.
but there's gonna be an arrow on the sign
There-
right there,
There is going to be an arrow on the sign.
right?
You know, concerning that, I was there and I pulled in the back. It didn't look like you could get down there, Fred. I mean, have you repaired that within the last month? Because I was there probably 3.5 weeks ago.
There are some temporary conditions there.
Yeah.
That are going.
Like, you can't get down there.
Right.
Those are the
So,
temporary ones. yeah.
correct.
So you're gonna repair that, and you're gonna make it so you can go down that road.
Well, we've been asked to maintain access. Again, I'd prefer that not be a main access point for.
Yeah, but
for
it
the
almost
business.
looked like, Fred, you couldn't get down there. You'd wreck your car trying
Right.
to, you know, I mean, it's gotta be at least where, God forbid, you could go down it without getting stuck there and having to use the repair shop.
Correct.
I mean, that's what is that your responsibility?
That's the whole purpose.
Right, I mean, is that,
If you don't want it used as the main entrance, does it make sense to put the word entrance on with the arrow? I mean, aren't you really just trying to tell people it's located in that direction?
That's a fair compromise, is to take take the narrative off that,
Yeah, I
off
mean,
that sign.
we're really
Yeah.
not trying to give anybody trouble here,
Right.
but it's,
Right.
to me, if you have an arrow, and in the arrow you have the word entrance, people are gonna think they're supposed to turn down that alley.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
if that's what you want, okay, as long as it's maintained and it's safe and all that stuff. But,
Again,
Maybe something that says entrance on, off Seaberry
Next-
or
next-
something like
next-
that.
I don't
Next
know.
right,
we were trying to figure out
entrance
you know,
and rear?
right.
what would be the correct
I don't know.
verbiage, but I don't know.
Well, there's.
Not an entrance.
What we can do is, if you guys are agreeable to the general parameters of the sign, what I can do is I can submit a couple of options to Harold for review, and we can agree upon a text or removing the entrance narrative in total. What I'd like to do, the reason we're communicating right now today is because we were asked to be incredibly sensitive to a great business that's been in the town for quite some
Oh, we
time, and so we're all working together to make sure that we afford them the same visibility and awareness that they've had prior. So I think that there's, in the spirit of maintaining the sign, that detail, what I can do is I can provide options, and we can decide which is
I think
which
it's
is the
not
best.
as much our concern as it is, you know, that you may not be accomplishing, you may be accomplishing what you don't want to accomplish.
Exactly.
Which is direct people to go that way.
Correct.
Is the height going to be the same as the old sign?
So it's taller than the original sign. So the original sign that I had proposed throughout the approvals was a monument sign, which would be appropriate in many environments except for this one. As it relates to the speed that people carry down Empire Boulevard, as it relates to the location, the proposed location of the sign now being pulled out of the right of way, it would be blocked by vehicles. So it would almost be counterproductive to maintain the same height as the original proposal. So the 9'6" was which is the top of the sign, would be the bare minimum to maintain the visibility.
You're confident, you just sort of were talking about this, but you're confident that the location you've chosen is not going to present any sort of site distance issues or safety hazards?
So one of the nice things about having an active project, and then also we utilize Bergman Associates, which is the engineer that has reviewed much of the improvements up and down Empire. So we're active and we're able to interact with those firms and make sure that we're making educated decisions here. We're also working with Premier Signs, which is one of the best sign companies as far as doing their due diligence and proposing locations. So we've had a lot of help, and we feel that this is an appropriate location.
Fred, perhaps you,
Oh, go ahead.
perhaps you misunderstood my question, but I think you, because I don't think you answered it. This sign, as compared to this sign, is the new sign going to be taller?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lower?
Almost 8 feet lower.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
lower than what
It
was
is.
there
It's lower than what had.
You were referring to this sign
Correct.
and this sign, not this sign and this sign.
Exactly.
Right.
So the original one that existed a year ago was about 8 feet taller than what I'm proposing right now, which is another improvement aesthetically.
And
So-
what is the height you're proposing right now?
The top height is 9.6.
9.6.
And there's only one sign on it, obviously, instead of.
There will only be one sign.
Okay, Fred, just to, not to belabor the issue, but you started out by saying that the fire company wanted you to have complete access around the building, correct?
A fire truck or utility vehicle has to be able. It doesn't have to be paved, but they have to be able to drive on it. So you need a
Okay, so
drivable
then-
surface.
Can I just recommend that you make it drivable? Where
Absolutely.
the supposed entrance is? Because right now, I just really don't believe it's
Sure.
drivable. Okay,
Sure.
so you make that drivable and no problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody from the audience care to speak about this application? Okay, thanks, Fred.
Stay up there.
Application number 4, Kim Tennedy, Laura Land LLC, 205 St. Paul Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14604. Requests an area variance from Article 3-3-77-B and Article 4-4-11 of the code to allow the construction of a building addition with more lot coverage and less parking spaces than required by code at 2000 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Laura Land LLC and is Zone LB. This is SBL number 093.02-1-12.11. This is application number 13Z-0036.
Good evening. My name is Fred Rinaldi of Laurelland Inc.
Still?
We're still at two.
You still live in
Again?
Penfield?
Yes, I still live in Penfield. My 6 years this December. So this this application is specific to 2000 Empire, which is the existing two-story medical building. When we first brought this, the original approval proposal to the board's attention and administrative staff, it was the result of having obtained the interest of Rochester General to build and complete an off-site premise or campus for a number of different medical uses. This one in particular currently houses internal medicine, pediatrics, and a blood lab. And the original expansion was to include imaging, which is a critically important referral and essentially completing the full kind of medical landscape with regards to having the fundamentals of a medical campus. One of the things that is currently developing that has changed since the original proposal is the design, efficiency, layout, and then also utilization of administrative staff through these practices. So today's application is a result of a reprogramming of the interior layouts of the internal medicine practice, the pediatrics practice, the blood lab, and the imaging department. So essentially what they're doing now is utilizing a core area to receive patients and check patients in and out, and expanding hallways and creating a number of different comfort features that were quite honestly a modification that has transpired over the last 6 months. So this proposal, the variance we're asking for, is to expand the footprint of the addition that we're requesting to construct to the main building, and the additional space is only 1,500 square feet. And I'm going to point out on the site plan where this is. So on the northwest portion, of the building, whose elevation runs parallel with Empire. We're adding approximately 1,000 square feet to the imaging center, and that is highlighted in a crosshatch in gray area. And there are small portions that run along the three sides of the building, but the bulk of it is on the Empire Boulevard side. All of the design aesthetics, the beautiful brick, stone, and glass improvements will remain the same. They work with this modification. This addition adds no new exam rooms. It is a space efficiency and actually a comfort change. Larger hallways. They have new high-tech MRI machines that are coming in as part of the imaging center that have different requirements as far as the way that they interact with the actual exam rooms. So we won't be adding any pressure to the site's infrastructure or impacting the prior approval. We're simply reprogramming the interior design and layout to accommodate a more an advanced and kind of future-proof interior program for the hospital. And a lot of it is centered around the new utilization of this core receiving check-in, check-out area, and then the surrounding uses, which is the four practices that I previously described.
So the changes that you've described, Fred, result in you coming back here and asking for slightly larger variances than were originally granted?
That's correct. There's literally in six to 8 months' time, the hospital said, listen, this is a major investment for the Rinaldis and it's a major investment for us. This is going to make us future-proof, and we want to be here for a long time. They've already been there for 18 years. They've been with us, with my father, for quite some time, and they want to be here for a very long time. So this affords them to create a program that is essentially allows them to change and move with what they believe the trends are going to be over the next decade or so.
So the two variances that you need slight increases on are what?
The lot coverage is so Article 3 is 3-73B. We're asking for a 1% change in the lot coverage, which would be a 1% decrease in the green space.
And the other one?
That's it?
That's it?
No, it's parking space, ain't it? One parking space less.
Oh, the parking.
The open space.
Right. We're actually not modifying the parking. But parking is to say that we did apply for and we received the variance for fewer parking spaces than the town code last go around.
Okay.
We're not requesting that the parking be reduced any further with this current application.
So it's two separate variances, but they're basically the flip side of each other.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
All right. Any other board questions? Anyone in the audience?
Yeah, I'm sorry, one, Danny. You know, the people at the blood lab are interested, do you have a drawing of the inside of how it's going to be laid out, where the blood's going to be taken, you know, the different parts of the inside of the building?
We're now at
You're
that point.
designing
Yeah.
them now?
No, we're now at
Okay.
that point where we have. I wouldn't have come to you with this until we had that essentially
Okay.
finalized. So
When you do it, is there a possibility, do you file them with Harold, or do you file them anywhere?
we have a open book policy with the town. We provide that information, especially when it has implications on things like we're presenting tonight. So that's information I can provide.
Okay, so when you do design the inside, because you needed this variance to design the inside, could I possibly get a blueprint of just the layout of where the offices are in the building?
It is going to include all the information except for that the hospital is not allowed to provide.
No problem.
Yeah.
I just need spaces of
Yep,
where,
absolutely.
you know, the offices are going to be, okay?
Yeah, well, we
The blood lab that's currently
Yeah,
in the building
yeah.
is
Is
that
it going to
a-
go anywhere?
it's improving. It's
No, but that's a Rochester General.
it's staying. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's staying right where it is?
Well, it's not in its exact location.
No, right, that's what I'm saying. Where is it moving to?
It is going to be a sub-department now within,
Yep.
so when you walk into this facility, it's almost like a retail model where you're going to have one receiving area that's going to service all these different
Okay.
genres. So there'll be a sub-department within a larger footprint.
And that's
One
what,
large-
that's what I need. All I want to
Yep.
do is see that.
Absolutely.
They asked me to see it. I said,
Not,
okay.
not a problem.
Thank you,
Not a
Fred.
problem.
Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Application number 5, James Hopper, 1656 Qualtrough Road, Rochester, New York, 14625, requests an area variance from Article 3-3-37-A of the code to allow the construction of a patio with less setback at 1656 Qualtrough Road. The property is owned by James and Diane Hopper and is zoned R-1-20. This is SBL number 108.16-1-64. This is application 13Z-0037.
Good evening, everybody. I'm James Hopper, presiding at 1656 Quatro Road. My wife, Diane. Tonight, we come to the board to request a variance for 1656 Quatro Road. I gave you a summation of where we stand currently on this request, and I just wanted to read that for the record if possible. We started this project back in the year 2000. We met with Mr. Cachetti from the town office and discussed the creation of a patio and the installation of a hot tub at that time. We explained to him that our intention was to build the patio beyond the current shed that we had then. However, at that time, we did not have a replacement shed to maintain the children's toys or any of our lawn furniture, so we built the patio up to the western side of the current shed. Mr. Cachetti informed us that a permit was necessary for the hot tub, and on July 3rd of 2000, we received our permit, and not for the paver patio because he told us that it was not required at that time. Due to the terrible drainage from the gutter, the shed became decrepit and the main structure was finally raised in spring of 2012. The western side of the shed, although it was not very attractive, did remain in place to serve as a barrier for the current patio. By the spring of 2013, we had saved enough money to finish the patio, so we proceeded to remove the final piece of the shed, repurchased the paver stones, and an approved fire pit with a cover, and began excavating the remaining part of the area. On July 25th, we received a notice from Mr. Savages at the town office that we needed a building permit for the patio. To our great surprise, we called Mr. Savages and went to his office to discuss this that day. He informed us that due to a change in the law, we now require a building permit for paver patios. So due to the repositioning of our residence, we needed to apply for a variance, which we are here to requesting today. In regards to today's variance request, we really are here for a few different reasons on why we want to extend the patio. For one, is to provide additional living space, outdoor living space with a garden area. Second of all, we want to move the fire pit away from the current structures. So extending the patio will allow us to move the enclosed fire pit to at least 65 feet from the neighbor's home and more than 25 feet from our nearest structure, which would allow us to be in compliance with what the fire code is now. We also wanted to install a new two-sided vinyl fence, which will be maintenance-free. When we first did the fence the first time, I was never thinking about how I built the fence so that it was less than 10 inches from the neighbor's fence, and it was very difficult to get back in there to do any servicing on it. So this time, we're going to put up a maintenance-free vinyl fence to alleviate that problem in the future. We expect the noise will follow the fire pit and be significantly farther away from the neighbor's home. Both trees in the vicinity, of which I did have a picture there for you, both trees in the vicinity of this patio will be fully removed within the month to provide more openness for the smoke to dissipate. And the last thing is the better drainage will move the water farther away from both our neighbor's home and our home. So those are the reasons why we're requesting the variance today. In regards to the 5 items that was on the application, I just wanted to reiterate what our points were regarding those 5 items that the board asked us to put into our application. In regards to number 1 being an undesirable change that will produce in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, we expect this change to improve the character of the neighborhood, both on our property and on the neighbor's property. We believe the shed removal and the new fence will actually enhance what we currently have. The item number 2 was whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible method. Unfortunately, due to the original design of the property that was built in 1956, we have no alternative options on this existing property. We only have one entrance or exit in the rear of the house and one entrance in the front of the house. Item number 3 was whether the requested area variance was substantial. The area is about 22 by 26 feet. As far as substantiability, I'm not exactly sure what you define that, but to us, it is significant in our living space. Item number 4 was whether the proposed area variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And we do not believe there will be an adverse effect or input on the conditions. Our goal is to actually improve the property appearance by, again, removing the shed, constructing a new fence, and putting new drainage in off of the one gutter on the south side of the house. And item number 5, the alleged difficulty regarding the project was not self-created. In review of the enclosed survey that I do believe you have, the original construction did not provide for any alternative areas for outside space. So that was our items regarding the application.
Can you explain to me how often, like, for instance, this summer, how often you use the patio?
I'd say we probably, maybe this summer, had a fire back there maybe 10 to 15 times, which was probably lower than what we've had in the past summers, which maybe was 20 to 25 times. Just due to the schedules this year, we just never really had a chance to go to the back as much.
And other than the fire, you use the patio often just to sit out?
Yeah, actually, the whole idea was to be able to go out there at nighttime, be able to use our Wi-Fi and internet, sit by the fire, and pretty much relax. We also have the hot tub back there that we do use some evenings also.
What is the need to, what's the need to expand the patio now?
Well, really, the major reason is to be able to move the activity, including the fire and anybody that is there, voices, to move it farther away from the neighbor's property. That really is one of the major reasons why we're doing that, and us to be able to move it away farther from our rear entrance of our door too.
All right, well, then, do you ever envision occasions where you would be using the entire patio, new and old, let's say? And let me tell you why I asked that.
Sure.
Because I understand, and I appreciate you saying we want to move away from our neighbors to reduce the impact. But it seems to me then aren't you making the current patio wasteful, unusable?
No, actually, that's where we have our barbecue and our table for the family to eat dinner is
Okay.
there. We actually have a 6-person, outdoor furniture table that we
Yeah.
normally have where we have for food, because you can come out of the rear entrance, which kind of comes off of our dining room.
Right.
That's where the food's brought out to the barbecue. Then we have a table sitting there. And right now, and the other thing too, just to mention that I forgot to say in your last question was, first of all, the fire pit is really too close. There's not really enough space. I didn't really know what the space limitation was for the fire until I started this process. And I got that document at Harold's office from the fire marshal, that it is 25 feet for a fire pit and I believe 15 feet for a steel portable fire pit. So that is really one of the major reasons why being able to move it away does allow us to be in compliance with the fire marshal too.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, then you anticipate using the current patio, continuing to use it for cooking and eating.
That's correct.
And the
But-
hot tub is.
And the hot tub is on it
And the
too.
hot tub, but when you use the fire pit, your thought is move it away?
Yep.
Okay, and do you need a patio in order to do that?
Yes, I believe that we would.
I know it makes it
aesthetically.
nicer, but do you need it?
Aesthetically, I think obviously it would be. I'm not exactly sure what you'd put onto the ground surface, to be truthfully honest with you.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
So
asking.
to answer your question, yes, we do believe so.
Okay, all right. And can you describe for me the two-sided vinyl fence and how long it would be?
Yep, what would be the entire length of the area, which is going to be about 23 feet from the house to the corner, which is where it is right now. So we'll be removing the wooden fence, putting the vinyl one in there from there, and then that vinyl fence will go all along the property line to the end of the patio area, which is about, probably about 45 feet would be my guess. So it's,
And how tall is it going to be?
whatever the legal is, 6 feet, I believe, is what the fence normally comes in, so. We went down right to Loco, Home Depot, and Lowe's and just priced out what the vinyl fences would be, so.
So it's going to be the entire length of the patio, old and new?
That is correct.
6 feet high, maintenance-free. There's still going to be some space between the vinyl and the chain link,
There
neighbor's
will
chain
be.
link?
As a matter of fact, there's still going to be about 10 inches of space there.
Yeah. I mean,
Which-
there's grass.
Actually, it's
Right.
just, it's mostly dirt right now.
Okay.
But actually, I mean, if the neighbors wanted to also run landscaping up to that and take their chain link fence down, that's also very doable too. I would have no problems in grading dirt off of the new fence.
All right. You described, I think, well, I guess you admitted that the variance was a substantial one. You want the patio to come right up to the line, or how close to the line do you want it?
Well, where the fence currently is right now is about, I believe, about 10 inches away from what the current fence line is now on the neighbor's property. And we would keep it in the same position that it is right now.
Well, and that's logical. I
Okay.
understand that, but just so for everyone's
Okay.
edification here, if you will, my understanding is that you built the original patio at a time when actually two codes
Yeah.
applied. There was a transition period where the code had been changed, but to account for that transition, both old code, let's say former code, and new code applied. The former code did not require that patios have any setback
Okay.
requirements.
Right.
Nor permit.
Okay.
So when you built that right 10 inches, let's say, from the line without a permit, you were doing so in compliance.
That's correct. That's what I was told too, in
Yeah.
working with Mr.
I don't think anyone's
Ciccone.
disputing that. But now, fast forward a number of years, you want to add to the patio, rules do apply.
Mm-hmm.
So logic dictates that you extend the patio as it is. You know, you're not going to, I don't think you're going to make a zigzag patio, but I guess I should ask you that. Have you contemplated that?
The one problem with the zigzag patio, we did consider that obviously
Okay.
too, but the only problem is that fire pit really needs to be moved almost all the way to the end of the extended patio so that
Right.
it can be in code. So that was one of the issues that we had, that 25 feet off of the corner of our property puts that fire pit almost on the end of the extended patio. So we really didn't have any alternatives other than that, because we did talk to Harold's department about that option.
All right, so what would you approximate the distance between where you use the fire pit now and where you would use it if we granted the variance? 30 feet?
It's going to be almost 40 feet.
40
I think I
feet.
figured it was about 37 feet actually away.
Okay. And you believe that's going to result in a lot less, let's say, bothersome smoke for your neighbor?
Yeah, I mean, basically, right now, it's kind of pinched in an area where it is difficult for the smoke to move. I have to admit that. That's one reason why we're taking those two trees down. And by taking the two trees down, moving it away, I don't really see any blockage of any smoke not being able to dissipate and to move north.
Any other questions? I may have some more,
Yeah, I
but.
do too.
Yeah.
All these do you have children, or how many people are using these
Yeah, actually-
patios and the
Yeah.
hot tub and so forth?
Actually, Carol, that's kind of a sad question because we only have one child left in college, in high school, one senior this year. And then we have two that are in college currently now. So they really only come back in the summertime now. So it's kind of a sad state for us, but we're going to be empty nesters next year, so.
A sad state for you, maybe it'll be happy for your neighbors, I'm not sure, but. I have a question, another question. It's taken you 13 years so far from the time you started this till now. Are you going to get right at putting in this fence and doing these other improvements now, or are you thinking about extending this several years?
Oh, no, it'll be done, well, if we obtain a permit, we only have 1 year to finish the job, I believe is how the rule works anyway. So the fence would definitely be done immediately. It'll be done within the next 30 to 45 days for sure. With the weather coming up, I don't know as far as being able to put the crushed stone down and how long it has to stay on there for heaving and so forth for the coming winter. So I don't know that part for the pavers, but the fence will definitely be installed within 30 to 45 days.
Willing to, like, work with your neighbors more on some of these problems you've had right
Yeah,
along?
I mean, to be truthfully honest with you, and I'll extend this to the Milliners, we've lived there for a long time, and I'll have to confess, I walk by them in church every week. And for us not to be able to say hello, I don't really exactly know what the issues were, and I think that's water under the bridge. But I would much rather have a positive relationship with the neighbors than we do. I mean, there's really no reason not to have a positive relationship. I don't know what exactly happened, but I would rather make ends positive here and move forward in an amicable relationship. If anything, Carol, maybe that's something positive that can come out of this whole process.
I hope so. I guess I don't understand why you didn't know what the problems were when we have a thing from, the staff has contacted you several times on problems.
Yeah, actually, Carol, I mean, when I sat down and reviewed all the notes from the office, I mean, I felt bad. When this first started happening in 2000, I was at first, Diane and I were like, why is the town continuing to come to visit us when there was never any violations reported? And I think that's really important to note. The only violation that was ever reported was this last violation that we didn't have a permit. So, I mean, to me, in the letter that was written about us as being disregard to the law of Penfield, that's not our intention. And I don't want that to be misleading. All those times that we got to know Harold's department, and I must admit, I mean, actually, they're doing their job, and they're actually extremely fair to work with. And I appreciate that. And we actually physically learned a lot from the process, too. But there was only one violation, and that is the current pavers right now, of which we're looking to remedy that, so.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Sure, Joe.
Your patio right now is a lot higher than what the ground is next to the patio, am I correct?
It's probably, I'd have to say it's probably 18 inches maybe above what ground level is
Yeah,
now.
right. So that led to my question. Are you
Okay.
going to build it up, or are you going to make a couple steps and put it at that level? Or are you going to take the whole thing and make, all this area and bring
With
it
all
up
the new
18?
fence, the new fence will enclose the entire area, all the way around the
Yep.
entire area, and then there will be one set of steps where the the door is, on the one, it would be the east side of the patio. So there will be 2 steps there. I believe I'll have to go 2 steps, Joe. I don't know the height yet, but.
To get into the new area?
Yes. and-
Okay, so in
yes.
other words, that answers my question. You're going to take and raise this whole area that you're going to turn into a patio, you're going to raise it 18 inches?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
We're going to
Wow.
put about 10 inches of crushed stone in there, or however many inches I
Okay.
need. 18 inches actually may be a little bit high. It
Yeah,
may
I
be
thought
more
it
like
was more like a foot, but-
14 inches, something like that. So we have about 10 inches of crushed stone that's going to be coming in, and then the sand on top of that for the pavers.
Okay,
So-
no, it was just interesting that you're building it up. And then you're gonna take your gutter from your house,
Yep.
and you're gonna put it in this white pipe that you have out there, and
Right.
extend it out underground to the
Correct.
back, so it diverts the water from, say, going on your neighbors or even near your house,
It'll go towards our current shed, which would be on.
which is way in the back. yeah,
Way in the back
which
there,
is
so.
Whatever. Your house is funny, you have to kind of explain too, that although you have a Qualthro address, your front door and your side yard, I guess, is on the street next to it. It's really not on Qualthro, and your
Right.
backyard is kind of in between your neighbors and your house,
Yeah,
technically.
When we
correct?
purchased the property, we never really thought about any of those dimensions of
I
the
know.
property until we started to do something there,
But
so.
I just don't understand why it has a Qualthro address.
Neither
Because
do we,
there's-
actually. Because really, for an emergency purpose, for an emergency vehicle, I don't think according to law, that's really right, but, because if 1656, there's no driveway there.
Yeah, so it's a really unique situation.
Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
I assume that based upon what you've said tonight, you would agree to a condition that the fire pit be used only on the new section of the patio.
Most definitely, yes.
All right. Any other
Just
questions?
one clarification.
Sure.
The vinyl fence, that's gonna be like a stockade type fence? Or is it,
No, it's, I don't know, it's got like a design on both sides. It's, I think it's gonna be like we talked about getting a tan color one. And they just, I don't know, I think they just come duplicate on both sides, so it's, how do
can
I?
you see through it?
No, it'll be a full vinyl surface. They all seem to be pretty much all one.
So it's gonna be a solid surface?
It's a solid surface, and I think they come in 6 or 8 foot panels, however they come like that, so. Actually, I think they were both, one was a 6 foot and one was an 8 foot panel, so.
And you realize at this time, the best side of the fence has to face your neighbors?
Yeah, I believe both of those fences that we looked at looked like they were pretty much the same on both sides of the vinyl fence, but yes, I do fully understand that the best side does have to face the outside, yes.
Okay. Anybody in the audience care to speak about this? Come on up. And why don't you folks just stay right there in the front row, because we'll probably have you back to address some of these. Thanks.
My name is Jordan Milner of 1662 Qualtrough Road. We live next door to the Hopper residence. And really, before we get into addressing specifically the reasons why we feel that the Hopper should not be granted a setback variance, the two fundamental issues that my family has at this time is really just an exacerbation of the current issues that we currently face on a day-to-day basis. So what I mean by that is the fundamental proximity of the structure currently in place, the patio in place. It is right near my sister's bedroom window. My sister is an orthopedic physician assistant. We sometimes, especially my sister specifically, has a fundamental inability to sleep even at modest volumes from the Hopper residence. So not even having a party or any elevated decibel levels of volume is just preventative to have a relaxing atmosphere and an atmosphere conducive to sleep. So that's a fundamental issue that we have. And, you know, especially in the wake of what the Hoppers just mentioned, at least I'm having a tough time getting my arms around how an extension of the patio and a movement of a fire pit over to this extension is going to help the situation. Because what this underscores for me is that a larger patio area is going to be conducive for more people to utilize this area. So there will be more people from that 10-inch, literal 10-inch parameter from our property will be able to reside, will be able to utilize this space. And in turn, that will inevitably increase volume just by nature of the amount of people that are there. And it's only going to exacerbate the issues. That's the first thing I wanted to bring up. And then also, too, as far as this time gap, as far as from the year 2000 to the year 2013, we just feel that this is not an extension of a project that happened in 2000 when there was, as you know, as the chairman mentioned, I believed, the laws, this grace period in which this patio was able to be built without these zoning areas. This is a distinct project. That's fundamentally what's going on here, and we feel that town laws are in place to intuitively help the other neighbors that are around this area to ensure that we are able to enjoy our home and relax in confines that are suitable for neighborly activities. And really, I guess after this, I would like just to make sure that everyone is, or at least understand if people have reviewed the packets and the letter that my family has submitted for the record that helps to clearly display the vantage point of what our family goes through. So I guess with that, if there are any questions as far as what was submitted for the record.
Could you do me a favor? Here's two pictures that you sent us.
Mm-hmm.
Could you take these and kind of put them side by side up by the board?
Sure.
So that, you know, the television, the home people, and everybody in the audience can take a look at them. I just picked two of the several ones that you sent us, okay?
Great, thank you. Give me a hand here. Okay, thanks. So as the board member mentioned, we submitted several pictures that tried to explicitly convey our vantage point of the current structure in place. And really at this juncture, this picture here on the right is a good representation of proximity. As far as that's exactly what we're trying to convey.
Well, the question that I have, and that you brought up, the problem, the picture on the left shows where the current patio is, correct? So in other words, that's the back of their house, and that's where the patio is
Right.
to your property.
The picture on the left specifically is more about just giving additional context to the situation. This is from our patio itself. So
That's right.
it's a fair distance away, but this ultimately is trying to convey that this side of the fence currently in place is almost in a decaying type of condition at this point.
Well, I'm going for relativity to what
Sure.
you said about noise and et cetera, okay?
Okay.
Now, that's where it shows right now according to your parent, or
Right.
your property or your parents'
Yes,
property.
exactly. This
So,
is-
and the picture on the right is where he is going to, or wants to, extend his patio.
That
Am
is
I
correct.
To the right?
That is correct.
So
Now,
that's another 30 to 40 feet away from his house and away from your house, am I correct?
It is, but I mean, it is also additionally, as the chain link fence suggests, only about 10 inches away from our property. So
No,
we feel.
and I understand that.
Right, and based on town code, we just feel that statutes are in place to have people comply. So there's a decency and a civility as far as the nature of our relationship as neighbors. And this picture here, I don't think it gives very much justice. This is just here for context. But past these bushes, almost near where the Hoppers' residence is where as I mentioned earlier, where my sister's bedroom as well as my mother's bedroom is, which is close, very close. And I believe there's a picture of my mother actually standing
Right here.
with her
Would you
arms
like to put
extended.
it up?
Sure.
Okay. And again, I'm understanding everything, and I certainly read all of this, and I was out there. I guess, I just don't have it in my mind to where if they're gonna take and go 30 foot out more to the right, away from your house, that it would be more of a problem. I understand the variance.
Right.
You know, the distance from your property. But if they took the fire pit and they took and moved 30 to 40 feet back away from your house in order to use their property, and of course, they still could put a fence there, even if we don't allow the patio. They could fence in that whole piece back there and still use it.
Right, I think hypothetically, if this is the condition that you're suggesting, if the patio in place was currently moved to that location and further back, I don't think there would be an issue, because it would be in compliance with current town statutes, and it would be away from where, as I've mentioned several times, where my mother and my sister sleep in their separate bedrooms. So, but I don't think that's the issue at bay. I believe the issue at bay is that we have a current patio, which
Right.
is
Which
egregiously
we
close.
don't, I know, but
Interesting.
we can't do one thing about that patio. That's
Right,
legal.
so let's not compound the issue. I mean, that's ultimately is from our vantage point, where we feel that the granting of a setback variance to extend this would only exacerbate the
But you
issue.
see, and there's the rub there.
Yeah.
Okay, because, and I'm just pointing things out here, the applicant says
Alleviate.
that if it's extended, now, that this is what he said, and I'd like you to address it. Because, and start with the point that Joe was making, is that obviously you feel the current situation is bad. Not an unreasonable position, okay?
Right.
But if the current if we do nothing, if we deny this variance, I assume that the current situation is gonna stay the same. They'll use the fire pit at the spot where they use it now. Now, they may take that wooden fence down, but they may not. So the denial of the variance wouldn't help your current predicament necessarily.
Right.
Does
So
the
it's our
grant-
position. Oh,
Well,
go ahead.
does the granting of the variance give you, let's say, the lesser of two evils? If they agree to not use the fire pit where they use it now, but to move it away from your sister and your mom's bedroom, I think on that side you've said?
Yes.
If they agree to do that, still not ideal, by
Right.
any means, from your context.
Right, I think the fire pit's not the only issue. I mean, as Mr. Hopper mentioned, I mean, they said they utilize the space for Wi-Fi internet access with wireless devices or laptops or what have you, or just to have company there. And frankly, we've always found it a bit odd that they themselves feel comfortable utilizing this space in such tight confines where you never feel comfortable having any privacy. I mean, we feel there's a dual issue here of privacy and separation of space between the two properties.
Yeah, but again, I don't see that changing. If the variance is denied, they're still gonna sit out there with their Wi-Fi, but their fire pit will still be there. And I'm not.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that you give up I just want, I'm bringing this up because I want to ask you whether, to compare and contrast those alternatives and, sort of be careful what you wish for here.
Yeah, I guess if anything, I would offer a third option, which would be the full utilization of the side yard, which
Right.
now all the more has plentiful space to it. But that would, as you said, something that probably can't happen would have to be the removal of the existing patio, which was able to be installed based upon a grace period that
Right.
was not beneficial to my family's residents.
Yeah.
Which we don't feel, obviously, we can't have that change, but why exacerbate the issue? I guess I keep coming back to that,
I
but.
guess, to reframe this for what Dan and Joe said, you have those structures exist in the relation that they do, and did when your mom purchased the property. I mean, and that seems to be the essence of the majority of the problems, is that backyard is close to the house, to your house, on your property. So, given that, I mean, and to some extent, that was a choice that your mom made, or whoever owns the property, when they purchased it.
Right.
And that stuff isn't gonna go away. The proximity is the proximity. So moving the area where they're gonna have the fire pit and people potentially away from there seems to be to your advantage, not disadvantage.
Yeah, the potential of that happening, I can't say with a 100% degree of certainty that it would happen. I don't understand that, and for the record too, my mother did have this property prior to the existing residence there. So it was not, in fact, the case that this close proximity was actually in place.
Let me ask you this. You heard me ask the applicant that if they would accept as a condition of approval that they move that fire pit. Absolutely, they said. What other conditions reasonable conditions would you suggest this board put on a variance if we were to grant it? If any?
Do you mind if I just convene with
Not at
with
all.
my
Take
family
your time.
members?
This is important to everybody, so,
Yeah, even ask your parents, that's not a problem, or they can come up and speak too, so it's,
I'd just like to mention something about this that hasn't been mentioned, that according to our code, the patio is required to be 30 feet from the rear property line, and I think that's very important.
Absolutely. I mean, the point that there's only 24 feet, I'm sorry, my name is Abby Milner. I also reside at 1662 Qualtrough. The fact that there's only 24 feet within that space and the law in general is 30 feet is really where we stand on all of this. I don't really care if the fire pit is moved down further away from our house, the gatherings, Wi-Fi, whatever the case may be. It's just the fact that this space is becoming larger. A larger patio equals larger gatherings. That may happen, and we're just trying to stand up for what we are already been dealing with because of the proximity of this current patio. So, I don't know, and who knows, God only knows if the Hoppers will remain at this residence, if we'll remain at this residence, but if a new family comes in, a larger family, who may have and utilize this very large patio, that's not at our advantage, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're trying to discuss this, and I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think that moving everything further away from our bedrooms is truly the gold standard here. I think, the issue is if we did that, the entire patio area is just larger, and that's what our concern is. I don't know how else to say that.
well, that's a good point, and the fact that they may move is also a very good point, because likely they're not going to rip the patio up before they sell the house.
Right, exactly. And it's,
Okay.
we understand that the current patio that's there is there, and we're not here arguing that. We're just trying to explain to you what we've endured this last, 13
Stop the
years.
bleeding.
And we just don't want to make the
Figuratively
situation worse. I don't think that it's a quick fix with moving the fire down. And first of all, just to take a step backwards, that needs to happen regardless. We've already established with the fire marshal that that needs to happen. I don't care if there's a patio block there or not. Unfortunately, with the confines of the 24-foot space, that's just not in code in general. And that's something we've learned throughout this whole process as well. And we're just trying to protect our home and everything around it. I know the discussion with the fence in general and the replacement of a new fence and all that, that's not why we're here. I don't care what kind of fence is put up, honestly. We've learned to look at what was there originally, and that's not the issue. You don't even, as far as I know, need a permit for a fence. It's just more the patio, the space, and the substantial size of what this patio may become. That's our concern. And I can't stress enough that there's numerous examples, not only on Qualtrough, but in the area of side yard lots who are utilizing their side yards with a deck, a pool, whatever the case may be. And I don't know why, unfortunately, we're having this discussion and standing here right now because the original patio was able to be put in because of a very grace period. But
Right, it's our family stance that human intuition would dictate that a side yard would be utilized based upon the structure of the neighbor's property. There really isn't a backyard at the end of the day where this structure is located. Anyone's interpretation of this small confined area as a backyard, but unless you're playing bocce, I don't understand how you can utilize this as a backyard. There's a side yard area that is plentiful, especially in the wake of the tree removal that Mr. Hopper mentioned, that all the more underscores the utilization of the side yard exclusively would be the ideal situation, I think, for both parties.
Well, let me ask Harold this question. What determines the front yard, side yard, the doors of the house, right?
The direction that the house is facing.
Okay, so that is the backyard. I don't care how you cut it. That's where the
Right.
door is.
Although
I
it may
mean-
be small in size, it is the rear yard, yes.
That's right. And to utilize the side yard, there's no entrance there or exit. There's no way to get there unless you walk through this area, which is, quote, the backyard, to get to the side area. Am I right in that
Well,
assumption?
through the area or through the garage, I think, in their case, because I think the garage is on that east side of the house.
Okay. I guess we're just figuring out the utilization of how they determine
Yeah, Sure. no, I
back and
understand.
front yards.
No, I understand. It's just, I don't know if, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
Just to help everyone remember why this 30-foot rule was placed in the first place. Obviously, it was to prevent, if this was a new house, to prevent a patio or structure or deck or whatever the case may be to be established here because of these confines. So to just continue along, with a pre-existing condition rule over the course of 13 years just seems silly. We're talking 13 years later, now we're standing here and this is something that's being proposed.
Right, and additionally, I would add, in June of 2011, I believe it was June 4th, June 5th, it was early June 2011, I took the first level of the Chartered Financial Analyst examination, which is a 3-level exam that's very rigorous. I spent 7 months of my time studying every single day to prepare for. My room specifically, which hasn't been mentioned at all, faces Qualtrough and is not even really in the vicinity of this patio or even the actual residence of the Hoppers. But due to a party with the children of the Hoppers that occurred that evening, I wasn't able to literally sleep on this day that I was preparing for the past 7 months. And that is an example of a loud party, what that does. It not only is exponentially louder for my sister's vantage point and my mother's vantage point from her bedroom, but it was noticeably visible or audible for me, myself. So I think that's another practical example of the loudness, the lack of privacy that's conjured up from this existing patio. And as I've probably said about 5 or 6 times, the extension of this, I don't think there's an argument to say that it wouldn't exacerbate it. At least I'm dumbfounded to understand one.
Harold, the issue with the fire pit, have we confirmed that with the fire marshal that it cannot be used on the current patio?
I am confident that the fire marshal and Mr. Hopper had a discussion earlier this week or late last week in regards to that, and it was determined that further to the east and away from the structures, yes.
Do you know how far?
Should be at least 25 feet from the structures.
So I'll ask you that when you come up here again, because what I'm getting at is, are you gonna have to move it anyway? Okay. All right, any other board questions for these folks? No? Okay. Can you guys come back up for a couple of seconds, because I want to ask you some questions about points they raised.
Thank you very much for your time.
So first, can you answer that question about the fire pit? Is it gonna be moved anyway? Must it be moved?
I
Off
believe.
the- off the current
I
path.
believe the answer is yes. When I read the fire marshal code, I couldn't understand, there's a 25-foot for a fire pit, but there was a 15-foot for a portable unit that you would buy at like a Home Depot. So I wasn't sure if the portable has a 15 feet, because the code actually reads new. This at the bottom of the Town of Penfield's paperwork here from the Office of the Fire Marshal. It says, new, outdoor portable fireplaces made of metal, ceramic, and like materials must follow the same rules and not be placed on any combustible materials. They may not be located less than 15 feet from a combustible structure and must be extinguished before abandoning. So it said that they followed the same rules, but yet in the next paragraph, it says they may not be located less than 15 feet. So I couldn't figure out if it's 15 for a portable or if it's 25. So, sorry, Harold, I never got clarification from the department on that,
But
but
it's at least 15.
it's at least 15, right?
Okay, so with that rule, where are you gonna have to move it?
Well, the 15 feet puts it really close to the fence from where it is currently right now. So it has to be moved down to where we put it when Wayne called me on Friday, so
So it can't stay on the current patio?
that's correct.
All right. All right, how do you address the concern raised that more pavers mean more people, meaning more noise?
Well, I mean, Diane and I, how many times have we ate dinner out there this whole summer? Once. We've ate dinner out there with our family one time. So as far as being disruptive and having many parties, as I said, I don't think we've had a fire maybe more than 10 to 15 times this summer. It's not like we're hosting huge parties at our property. I think the biggest group that we have at our house is on Sunday nights when our Bible study group comes over of 10 people. So as far as having parties and so forth goes, I mean, I think that's really pretty exaggerated.
I think they only mentioned one party.
And
Specifically.
I want to make a point on that, Dan. First of all, I apologize if that did happen, because the first time I'd heard of it was when I had read the report. And if there's an issue, I really would rather have them just tell us. I mean, we've never had the dialogue in the 20 years we've really lived there. We never had the dialogue with them. So, I mean, if there's an issue, let us know. I mean, I didn't know that he was taking a professional exam. No problem. I mean, it's just due courtesy. We're not here to create hardship on their life.
No, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. Okay, any other board questions?
Yeah, just one. How many children do you have?
3, Joe.
3, okay. And there's still one left at home?
She's a senior in high school, yes.
I had 3, bummer.
Carol?
I was just going to ask, since your family has gotten smaller essentially, and you don't use the patio very much, it sounds like, if you've only been out there once this year for dinner, why do you need to extend it so far?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Carol. Well, first of all, the patio is really in kind of terrible shape right now. The weeds are growing through it. It needs to be, refurbished. The patio's been there for 13 years now. And so we're taking that big tree trunk that we have up there down now. We're going to grade that off and just clean up the pavers that are back there. So really, to be honest with you, the patio's not in that great a shape right now. Would you agree? Why do you think that we need to expand it? Any thoughts? I mean,
It's just, it's tight back there when you sit down to dinner even. I mean, it is a small area, and we wanted to be able to even have a dining set further away, that we would have more space to move the chairs back and forth out at the table.
it's true.
I agree, it is close, but you've been living with it for 13 years when you've had more people actually living in your home.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's really, to be truthfully honest with you, it's about making a fire pit that is more conducive to one what the code is and one that we can enjoy better. And also, the whole point was we're moving the fire pit away from the neighbor's house. I mean, it's going to be another 40 feet away. So I think that should help alleviate any noise and smoke that they have brought up. So I'm hoping that both parties will benefit from the variance.
So are you saying that when you have the fire pit going, that's where you sit around, obvious? That's why
course.
you have a fire pit.
Right,
So if it was moved and we made it a condition to move it back on a new patio, it would be 40 foot more away from their property.
That's correct.
And that's where your chairs would be, and that's where you'd hold your Bible study meetings or whatever
Absolutely.
you'd like.
Absolutely. The only thing that we'll be sitting by closer to the Milner's house now is just the table where we would eat our dinner.
Right.
Okay, any other board questions for the applicants? Anyone else in the audience? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Application number 6, Walter Baker, DSB Engineering and Associates, P.C., 2394 Ridgeway Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14626. On behalf of Peeler Vision Group, requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-77-B and Article 10-10-4 of the Code, and a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 and Article 7-7-12 and Article 7-7-13 of the Code to allow Jaguar, Range Rover, Land Rover dealerships at 770 Panorama Trail South, and a change of operator for the Buick and GMC dealerships at 800 Panorama Trail South, a larger freestanding sign with less setback and additional building-mounted signage at 770 Panorama Trail, and additional building-mounted signage at 800 Panorama Trail South. The properties are owned by Vision 2 LLC in Zone GB. This is SBL numbers 138.08-1-47 and 138.12-1-2, and this is application number 13Z-0038.
Good evening, I'm Walt Baker with DSB Engineers and Architects. I'm here tonight on behalf of Peeler Vision Dealership, the property at 770 Panorama Trail. Maps I posted on the board illustrate the overall property. Actually, I'm here for two portions of this application. There's two buildings on, there's actually two separate properties. There's a front property that's 770 on Panorama Trail, which is approximately 3.5 acres. Then there's a 7-acre parcel here, which actually houses the current Buick GMC dealership, and this is the old Saturn building. And recently, Bob Hastings owned the entire parcel, both parcels, separate parcels. Vision, or Peeler Vision Dealership is a corporation for the front parcel, and then there's a Vision GMC Buick Corporation that's going to own 800 Panorama Trail. So,
Well, do you
kind
mind
of
if I
twofold.
interrupt you here and just
Sure.
kind of clarify some
Yeah,
things by asking Harold a few questions,
Yep.
just so we know?
That's fine.
Okay, Harold, let's talk first about freestanding signs. Each one of these properties is entitled by code to have a freestanding sign.
Yes,
The rule is it has to be a certain size. 20 square feet, is it?
correct.
Okay. And then for building mounted signs, each division, and by division I mean make of automobile, would be entitled to have its name on the building.
Correct.
So,
Product, right.
product, okay. So, Walt, let's talk first about the square shape, let's call it a square shaped lot.
Right, which is
What,
going,
what
this-
cars are gonna be sold there?
this is going to be Jaguar, Land Rover, Range Rover, which I've included 2 sheets in that package.
Okay, so that's three cars.
3 products, right.
Range Rover and Land Rover, there's a difference, I suppose, but.
There's a difference.
Yeah, it's way out of my price range.
Jaguars.
Yeah.
Jaguar.
He knows he didn't say his.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
right.
the other irregular shaped lot is GMC,
Correct. This would be Buick GMC.
so two.
Well, basically GMC is GMC, which used to be
It's not just
Pontiac.
GMC trucks,
It's GMC trucks and then the
Okay.
Buick fleet of cars.
but you're not
And
looking,
they have
you're not looking to
SUVs.
put Buick, Cadillac, you're just looking to put GMC?
Buick GMC, correct.
Okay, great.
Correct. Vision Group has, as you well know from the advertisements on TV, they have
Yeah.
a
And-
variety of
and
brands.
that's- The fact that you want to put the name of the dealer on the building is what puts you over the, both numeric limit in terms of one for each type of car, and also, I guess, square footage. Okay.
Well, with the Jaguar site, which is this site here,
Yep,
based on the length of the building, you're allowed 272 square feet of signage based on the length of the building times 2 feet. And we're actually, when you combine all the building signs, there's a freestanding sign, then the Jaguar sign, the Range Rover sign, and the Land Rover sign, and the service entrance sign, which would be in front of the service bays, only adds up to 144 square feet. So we
Okay,
don't
well,
exceed the max.
You're well short of that.
We're
He's
well,
not-
well within the
He's in
code.
agreement with you, so you're good on that. Okay,
But again, we've got individual signs where the
Thanks.
code says one sign.
okay.
And similarly with Buick GMC, which, I would do have the name.
I thought
And Max. All right, the other application. For the rear property, currently, there's a freestanding sign in place. Okay.
No,
Now,
just
move the whole board.
The whole
Board.
board down a little
Yeah.
bit so Mike can see it.
Okay.
Got bad lamps.
Yeah. Better? That better?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Like I mentioned, the rear parcel, which would be the Buick GMC site, currently, I have photographs of the front of the building, which is in your packet, which shows the Buick GMC signage on the building, and far to the right, it says Bob Hastings. Obviously, it's been purchased by Vision, so Vision wants to change that sign only to say Vision versus Bob Hastings. Same thing with their freestanding sign, which is currently in place out on the street. We want to change that because down at the bottom it says Buick GMC and underneath it says Bob Hastings. Obviously, Mr. Hastings sold the property, so we want to make it say Vision.
So is that freestanding sign you just mentioned going to stay in its location?
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be the same size?
Correct.
You're just changing the name underneath it?
Correct. I believe I brought extra copies. I don't know if Harold, did you have a chance to print them for the
Is
guys?
that
or-
these?
Those?
Yeah, we have
You know,
those.
you
I
have
I
that?
know what you're saying.
Right.
The packet, we just got these.
Yeah, but I also brought the freestanding sign.
That was what I,
Yeah. you got it
They also
already?
got that tonight,
Yeah, we
yeah.
have it. Yep.
I think we have that.
Okay.
Well, now I got
Got
it
it.
twice.
More paper, love it. Thanks.
recycle.
Before we get into all the signage issues, you're also seeking a conditional use permit to
Well,
allow
yes.
these dealerships to exist.
Correct.
And I'd sort of
Besides-
like to get into that first because I think it's the simpler of the two. I
Definitely.
mean, basically, there were two car dealerships. Basically, you're going to continue two car dealerships. Are there any, we have a bunch of criteria that we need to talk about, such as means of ingress and egress, adequacy of parking facilities. Is anything going to change in the operation of these dealerships physically on the property?
No, sir. Just different owner, different product.
The lighting's going to stay the same?
Lighting staying the same?
Basically, the parking areas are going to stay the same?
Yes, exactly.
So-
Any change that we're proposing, not to interrupt you, any change that I showed here highlighted on the existing Saturn building, we're going to upgrade it for the standards that
Right.
Jaguar, Land Rover, Range Rover, which is the facade changes on the building. We're not changing the square footage of the building. We're just going to take the facade and obviously make it say, they've got a corporate look.
How about the hours of operation?
It's pretty much, they're closed on Sundays, like all car dealerships, and that's when a lot of people go shopping when nobody's there. And they'll be open Saturdays,
Probably
6 days a week.
closed by 9 on
Yes.
weekdays?
Yes.
Mike, I would only add about the parking on, not parking on landscaped areas, parking vehicles.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, parking on pavement.
Only.
only?
Only. My son got a ticket for that once. Parking on pavement, I couldn't understand it.
All right, so the issues are really with the signage, the number of signs, and an additional freestanding sign.
Yes, yeah, the condition, obviously, in order to operate the business, it was previously, because this is a conditional use permit in a general business district, the owner of the property and the operator of the property needs to have the conditional use permit in their name. Presently, it's in Mr. Hastings' name. Mr. Hastings sold the property, so we have to put it in the current property owner.
All right, can you just briefly go over the physical changes to the front that they're proposing?
Yes, for Jaguar?
Well, yeah, for the whole thing, the canopies being removed,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Okay, bring this over. Basically, in sheet number 1 for the Jaguar site, I included the photographs of the front of the existing facility. And as you can see, they had the red band at the top. And Saturn, obviously, they took the name out of there, but it was backlit. And the big square at the top of the entrance was Saturn. And we showed it from the other view. And then this area over here was just a 3-sided glass showroom. And what we're proposing, which we submitted to Corporate Jag Land Rover for their approval, was to modify the front of the building to replicate what they're looking for with the entrance. And when we say retailer, DBA, Jaguar, Land Rover, Range Rover, doesn't want it to say Peeler Vision. They just want it to say, when somebody comes from out of town and they're looking for the Jaguar dealership, it's going to say either Penfield or Rochester.
Oh, so
I'm not
that's
sure
gonna
which
be a
one they're going to go with
location
yet.
that-
It's just for location-wise, it's just the location of the city. And then we have what we call the tower for Range Rover, Land Rover, for their product. And basically what they try to do in the showroom is divide the showroom interior so it has identity for each side. So the interior will be all redesigned, redone on the inside, and just the facade changes on the front, and again, the signage. And the freestanding sign, which I showed here, which is more than 20 square feet, but it's approximately 59 square feet. It's 8.5 foot tall, 6 feet wide.
Okay, can you go into why you need a bigger sign and why you need a sign, period?
Bigger sign than,
Than is allowed under code?
again, it's the number of products that we're proposing for the site. And you can have the identity for each individual product.
I'm talking about the freestanding, the monument
The
sign.
freestanding sign?
Yeah.
20 square feet for a monument sign out at the street is quite a bit smaller than what you typically see at most business and/or dealerships. Again, you have the busy street area, and we're proposing the sign out at the front. And it's a pedestal sign. It's not like the current sign or the old signs you used to see for dealerships where the tall, the very tall signs, which is existing now for the Buick GMC site. We're not proposing to do a sign like that. We're proposing a short pedestal sign, which is more in keeping with the landscaping.
But you have a lot of building frontage, very visible frontage.
Yes.
And you have a lot of signs on that frontage that you can see from the road.
Well, actually, you don't, because if you go by the site, this existing Saturn building is actually, the grade drops down. When you first pull in the site, there's a dramatic grade change when you first enter here, this is relatively flat, but as soon as you make the turn to the left to get to the site, it drops down probably 6 feet. So this grade is lower than the actual road.
And let me get more specific. There's 6 criteria that we have to look at with regard to approving any kind of signage variances. 5 and 6 say the proposed sign is necessary to enhance the business identification because of the location of the business proximity to the front property line, the exterior appearance of the structure containing the building, and the nature of business operations. And 6 says the operation of a successful business would not be possible without a freestanding sign in excess of 20 square feet. Now, given that the Saturn dealership and before that, I don't remember what the auto dealership is, but there's been a dealership there for years, all doing business successfully without a freestanding sign. Would you address that issue?
Actually, there's remnants of an old freestanding sign out at the street, right near the entrance. It was taken out. I don't know how many years ago that was taken
Yeah,
out.
I'm not sure when it was taken out.
Yeah, well, there used to be a freestanding sign there.
For a good
Well,
number of years, there was not.
Right, for the Saturn building?
Well, I don't know.
Probably why they're
Tell me
not
that's
in
the
business
reason
any
that
longer.
They failed?
Yeah, it could be. Could be. Actually, I bought a set in there in '05. But it was hard to find.
So that's your answer?
Well, it's, again, it's the elevation of the existing structure, and it's set back from the road. It's not a standard rectangular property where you find a lot of businesses where the structure is actually 65 feet back from the road. This is probably closer to 150 feet back from the road, and it's on an odd angle. If you look at the road is curved, and you're familiar with Panorama Trail, it's a relatively fast road. If you're going by, you're on a curve, and you should be paying attention to what's going on, and it's hard to stop and slow down and look that distance and try to locate the structure.
And basically what you're telling the board is without that sign, you don't think that you can adequately identify that business?
Yes,
In
sir.
that location? Okay. That's all I have.
Walt, I'm looking at the monument sign here, and if this is, just looking at the scale, it seems to me that from the bottom of the sign to the bottom of the Land Rover oval,
Right,
it's got to be 3 feet.
yes.
And there's going to be nothing in that 3 by 6 or
No.
3 by 7 area?
No, sir.
Why don't you just get rid of it?
Get rid of that,
Yeah, I mean, that brings you much closer to the 20 square feet allowed. You've got, let's say it's 3 feet times almost 7 feet, 21 square feet of empty space.
right, I
It's putting
understand.
you way over the limit.
Right, and actually, it's just a steel monument, and then the signs on the upper portion of it. It's just the corporate look, it's the way they
Well,
designed it.
but I get that, but I guess what I'm talking about is that, the diagram you provided us.
Right,
All
yes.
of this space underneath Land Rover.
Right,
I mean, what is it? It's just empty space.
the monument, right.
Is it made of concrete or marble or what?
Is it the base? Is that what you're saying? It's the base upon which the rest of the sign sits? What is?
Well, it's got a framework on the inside, and then it's, actually, you can see from the top view that it's slightly curved, and it's a double-face sign.
Really?
And it's just the monument, the pedestal that they've
Wrapped.
designed, yeah, it's wrapped in, it's like a steel finish.
Okay, so you can't get rid of that.
Not
I
really.
mean, it seems wasteful to me, and it puts you way over the limit.
Correct. However, it's smaller than the existing sign on the adjacent property that was approved a number of years ago, which is 28 feet tall and 75 feet, I think it is 70, what do I got, 76 square feet in size. So it's more in keeping with today's standards where you have the pedestal signs versus the tall freestanding signs. So they, nationally, that's what they're going to. And it's,
Well, are you claiming that you had a freestanding sign there before, so this is?
right,
You know, you want an extra sign on the building. Usually if they want an extra sign on the building, we take away their sign on the front. You have a freestanding or an extra building sign. You want kind of the building sign
well, again,
and the freestanding
well, the
sign.
building sign is actually 3 identities or 3 separate products.
Yeah, but the one that you want 4. What's the 4th one on there?
The 4th one says service.
Is the service?
Service, correct.
I thought you said it's vision.
Service, and then vision.
Well, it'd be
it's
the
not vision,
DBA
Peeler.
sign, which would be the entrance sign.
It would be- well,
that
Peeler
says
Vision-
Rochester.
Peeler Vision, I think, is
It'll
also
say-
going up there, right?
No, we're talking about the Jaguar
We're very
building?
confused there.
Jaguar.
I asked this
Right.
before
Jaguar.
about this DBA sign. This is gonna be on your building, and it's gonna say Rochester.
Or Penrose.
Where it says retailer DBA,
It'd be
it's gonna
Rochester.
say Rochester.
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna have Jaguar, you're gonna have Land Rover, you're gonna have Range Rover, you're gonna have retailer, and you're gonna have service.
Correct.
Well, one's gotta be illegal somewhere, right, Harold? Which one is? I mean, I understand the service, if they do service.
Right.
I understand the Land Rover, the Jaguar, and the Range Rover. So it's gotta be Rochester.
Well, usually you have the owner's name as well. I mean, similar to the building in the back says
Well,
Bob
usually they
Hastings.
have cars here with the guy's name, not each individual subject. I mean,
The product?
most car places now sell multiple cars, right?
Yes.
You're not gonna say Chevy Impala, Chevy Nova,
Well,
Buick,
that-
Skylark, Buick.
No, they don't, because that's one product. I'm saying if you have GMC, it doesn't say GMC pickup trucks, it doesn't say GMC panel trucks. It says GMC, and then the other sign says Buick.
So these are all separate divisions in the same building
Correct,
and sold out of the same way, just like up the road.
correct.
I mean, and you're worried about where you are. I think if they stopped at the wrong one up on the road, they'd probably sell one up there for you, right?
Vision.
Or they'd send it
Well,
down.
that's-
It's only how many
That's
yards
Vision,
away.
Vision Dodge, Vision
Oh,
Jeep.
yeah, right, but it's all vision is the key word.
Well, Vision is similar to what you would say the DBA would be Rochester. So it's the owner's
Just an
name.
Awful lot of signs down there, in my opinion. I mean,
Well, the signs aren't that large in size. Again, based on the size of the building, the frontage of the building, we could have 272 square feet, and we only have 144. It just has to be broken up into identities for the different products, which people are looking for. If they're looking for Jaguar, they're not going to assume it because it says Range Rover, they're going to know Jaguar's there as well.
So why do you need Rochester or Penfield?
Again,
Don't
it's
think
the same as
people
Bob
realize
Hastings
where they
having his
are
name.
When they're in Penfield?
Originally, I did the site, Jaguar presently is up in Webster right now, on Ridge Road in Webster, and I've been working with Mike Peeler on his project up there for a few years, and we actually went to the planning board and zoning board in Webster because we were gonna renovate that building, even though he had to move from Lake Road, or Lake Avenue, his site used to be on Lake Avenue. So when he took over Jaguar and they moved it to Webster, we had the identity thing, the same thing with the monument, the pedestal sign, and the name. And again, in Webster, they wanted it to say Peeler. And we said, corporate wants it to say Webster. Now that we're moving to Penfield, it'll probably say Penfield, but it might just say Rochester. Because corporate wouldn't believe us when we said the planning board and the zoning board wanted it, we thought the identity should be Mr. Peeler's name. Peeler's been around forever, so why wouldn't it say Peeler? Corporate said, it's gonna say Webster.
Yeah, but the problem is you're here trying to sell it, corporate isn't.
Yeah, that's what the zoning.
We brought-
So
we
that's
act-
why I understand.
We actually
So-
tabled the meeting, we went and got the corporate guy to come to the meeting, and, yeah. So it's an identity thing, and again, when you
Yeah,
come,
no, I
they're
understand.
looking nationally, if somebody came for service and they're from a different state, and they Googled it or whatever, they're looking for Jaguar of Rochester, or Jaguar of Penfield.
Carol, you have something? No. Okay. Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Joe?
No.
Anyone in the audience? Okay, thanks, Walt.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, hold on there a second.
Oh,
Carol,
no, not for you. I'd
Oh, okay.
just like to give a quick shout out to David in faraway Oppenheim, who I understand watches our board for topics we discussed that are relevant down there, such as our wiffle board application last month.
Oh, that's nice. How'd you learn about that?
One of those, it's a small world.
Oh, good. That's great. Okay, so the public hearings will be adjourned. We'll take a brief recess, and then we'll reconvene in the back of the room. Thank you very much, folks.